Again, in all other unjust deeds there is always a reference to a certain depravity. Thus, if a man commits adultery, the reference is to intemperance. If he abandons his post in battle, the reference is to timidity. But if he strikes another person, to anger. If, however, he obtains money by it, the reference is to no other depravity than to injustice. Hence, it is evident that there is a certain other injustice which ranks as a part, besides universal injustice, and which is synonymous with it, because the definition of each is in the same genus. For both possess their power in a reference to another person. But the injustice which ranks as a part is conversant with honour, or riches, or safety, or if all these could be comprehended in one name, it is conversant with them, and this on account of the pleasure which results from gain. Universal injustice, however, is conversant with all such things, as a worthy man is conversant with in the exercise of justice. That there are many kinds of justice, therefore, and that there is a certain justice which is different from universal virtue, is evident. What it is, however, and what kind of thing it is, must be explained. The unjust, therefore, has been distinguished by us into the illegal and the unequal, and the just into the legal and the equal. But the prior injustice of which we have spoken subsists according to the illegal. Since, however, the illegal and the unequal are not the same, but different, as a part with reference to a whole, for every thing unequal is illegal, but not every thing which is illegal is unequal, hence the unjust and injustice are not the same with these, but different from them in the same manner as parts and wholes. For this injustice is a part of the whole of injustice, and in a similar manner this justice is a part of the whole of justice. We must, therefore, speak concerning the justice and injustice which ranks as parts, and after the same manner concerning the partially just and unjust. The justice, therefore, and injustice which are arranged according to universal virtue, and of which the former is the use of the whole of virtue, and the latter of the whole of vice, with reference to another person, we shall omit. It is, likewise, evident how the just and the unjust which are arranged conformably to these are to be distinguished. For nearly most of those things which are legal are ordained from universal virtue. For the law orders men to live conformably to every virtue, and forbids them from acting conformably to any one of the vices. But the efficient causes of the whole of virtue are those legal actions which are established by the laws for the purposes of public discipline. Concerning the discipline, however, of an individual, according to which he is simply a good man, whether it pertains to the political or another science will be determined hereafter. For perhaps it is not the same thing to be a good man, and a good citizen, but there is one species of the justice which subsists according to a part, and of the just pertaining to it, and which consists in the distributions either of honour, or riches, or such other things as may be divided among those who partake of the same polity. For in these it is possible that one person may share unequally, and equally with another. But another species of justice is that which possesses a corrective power in contracts. Of this, however, there are two parts. For of contracts some are voluntary, but others are involuntary. The voluntary, indeed, are buying, selling, putting out money at interest, suretyship, lending any thing on hire, pledging and hiring a slave or an artificer. But these contracts are said to be voluntary, because the principle of them is voluntary. And of involuntary contracts some are clandestine, such as theft, adultery, witchcraft, prostitution, deceiving the slave of another person, insidious murder, and bearing false witness. But the violent are such as blows, bonds, death, plunder, mutilation, slander, and contumely. CHAPTER 3. Since, however, the unjust man is unequal, and also the unjust belongs to the unequal, it is evident that there is a certain medium of the unequal, but this is the equal. For in whatever action there is, the more and the less, there is also the equal. If, therefore, the unjust is unequal, the just will be equal, which, indeed, without any reasoning process, is manifest to all men. But since the equal is a medium, the just will be a certain medium. The equal, however, is in two things at least. It is necessary, therefore, that the just, which is a medium and equal, should be referred to a certain thing, and to certain things. And so far, indeed, as it is a medium, it is referred to certain things, but these are the more and the less. And so far as it is equal, it is referred to two things, but so far as it is the just, it is referred to certain things. Hence it is necessary that the just should be in four things at least. For the persons to whom the just pertains are two, and the things in which it consists are two. And there will be the same equality between the persons to whom justice pertains, and the things in which it consists. For as is the relation of the former to each other, such also is that of the latter. For if the persons are not equal, they will not have equal things. Battles, however, and accusations hence originate, when either equal persons do not obtain equal things, or those that are not equal have an equal distribution of things. This also is evident from distribution according to desert. For all men acknowledge that the just in distribution should be made according to a certain desert. All men, however, do not say that there is the same desert. But democratic men, indeed, say that desert is liberty. And of the oligarchists, some say that it is wealth, but others that it is nobility. But the aristocrats say that it is virtue. The just, therefore, is something analogous. For the analogous is not only the peculiarity of monadic number, or number consisting of units, but of number universally. For analogy, or proportion, is equality of ratio, and consists in four things at least. That disjunct proportion, therefore, consists in four terms is evident. And this is also the case with continued proportion. For this uses one thing as two things, as for instance, as A is to B, so is B to C. Hence, B is twice assumed, so that if B is placed twice, the analogous things will be four. But the just also consists in four things at least. And the reason is the same. For the persons to whom justice is distributed, and the things which are distributed, are similarly divided. As the term A, therefore, is to B, so will C be to D. And therefore, alternately, as A is to C, so is B to D. Hence, the whole will be compared with the whole, which the distribution conjoins. And if they are thus compounded, they will be justly conjoined. The conjunction, therefore, of the term A with C, and of B with D, forms the justice which is in distribution. And the just is the medium of that which is foreign from the analogous. For the analogous is a medium, and the just is analogous. Mathematicians, however, call such an analogy or proportion as this geometrical. For in geometrical proportion it happens that the whole is to the whole as all the parts to all. But this proportion is not continued. For the same thing is not assumed as the person to whom a distribution is made, and as the thing distributed. This justice, therefore, consists in proportion, but the unjust is foreign from proportion, and hence one person has more, but another less than he ought, which also happens to be the case in actions. For he, indeed, who does an injury has more, but he who is injured has less of good than he ought. The contrary, however, takes place in evil. For a less evil has the relation of good with respect to a greater evil. For a less is more eligible than a greater evil. But the eligible is good, and that which is more eligible is a greater good. This, therefore, is one species of the just. CHAPTER 4. The other remaining species of justice is corrective, which is conversant both with voluntary and involuntary contracts. But the form of this justice is different from the former. For the justice which is distributive of common things, or things of a public nature, always subsists according to the above mentioned proportion. For if the distribution is made from common property, it will be according to the same ratio as the things introduced have to each other. And the unjust, which is opposed to this justice, is foreign from proportion. The just, however, which is in contracts, is, indeed, a certain equality, and the unjust is inequality, yet not according to geometrical, but arithmetical proportion. For it makes no